All right, everybody, I think the wait was worth it. We got our very first look today at the new Z285 from Brinkley, and this just might be the ultimate couples camper. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Josh the RV Nerd here with Bishop's RV down at the Brinkley secret headquarters missile silo, as you can see in the background, with this gorgeous new Z285 here from Brinkley. And this is a specimen right here. I've seen some floor plans like this before, but never done to this level. Like I said, I think that this could be potentially considered the ultimate couples rig. We've got 7-foot sidewalls plus a barreled ceiling to really open this sucker up. You've got that 18,000 BTU chill cube air conditioner back in the living room for maximum cooling power and efficiency, and it's shockingly quiet, by the way. Then you have a second dedicated standard air conditioner to help keep the bedroom and bathroom cool, so you have really maximized zone efficiency on this. So if you want to be breathing icicles at night, but you want to kind of, just open the windows during the day, it's very easy to feel comfortable in here. Now, like all your Brinkleys, everything is just dressed up and pressed up like crazy. Like we've got, the enclosed underbelly, the tank heaters, the radiant barrier, all that, but Goodyear Wrangler tires with standard TPMS. They've got extra taillights on this sucker, factory standard rear view camera, 370 watts of factory solar, gigantic 12-volt refrigerator on this thing, and about a partridge in a pear tree. But what really blows it over the top for me is the way that they've kind of reinvented the sort of living dining sort of arrangement on this one. And it can do so many different things. Like when you look at it, it's kind of what I call a little bit of a Franken booth, where it's a half booth, half table and chairs. But you can slide one of those chairs over to use it in the desk space, because it actually has a dedicated desk, which is about as rare as frogs hair in the RV industry. But it's also got a floating ottoman that you could use in the desk. You could use it in front of the sofa for a little Dinofa action. You could just kick your feet up, although it's a theater seat. You could also slide that over, and it becomes the other bench to fold the booth down into a sleeper. So you have the benefit of freestanding table and chairs in a sense, and a booth dinette all in one. It is prepped and ready for a combo or stackable washer dryer, and so much more. I cannot wait to peel this thing apart. Grab the bucket, pop the popcorn, and sit down and buckle up, because this is going to be a ride. And if you like how we get down here and get this to you first, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like our video, and let us know what you think as we go through here today. And I feel like I always say this when I go through a Brinkley, but like from the moment you step inside, you know it's not just the same old industry standard thing. The thing is, there's a lot of things that kind of define them and separate them. That's why my videos on these run exceptionally long. It takes me 3 times longer to make a Brinkley video from almost anything else. So let's start from the top and start working down. You've got a 6'9" sidewall plus a barreled ceiling. And what that gives you is a 7-foot total interior at the apex of that barrel. But we're 81 inches from floor to ceiling sidewall. So, however you want to call that, a lot of people are going to call it a 7-foot ceiling. It's a variable height ceiling, but it's always bigger than industry standard. It's never small. Now they're doing, now that we're looking at the floor, opposing floor flush carpetless slides. They don't do heat vents in these. In your living room, you'll actually have heat coming out of the island base. And they will include that little magnetic dog dish kind of thing that attaches to the island base. But this being prototype literally number 1, understand some things will change. I'll try to remember to point those out as we go. So this island base is not the one that's compatible with that quite yet, but it will get there. I love that big 12-volt fridge on the back here. I've not closed the slides up, but I think unless you're climbing over furniture, which I don't necessarily recommend you do, you're not going to get road mode fridge access. So that might be one of this one's Achilles heels. It maybe is a RV better for, what I want to say, being there than getting there. Something else I always like to point out on these, though, is the cleanliness of the execution. Like, you don't see the machine gun line of staples going brrr all the way down. They don't do what's called GIMP molding trim. Everything just fits flush and nicely. And again, this is prototype 1, so this is one that's kind of been peeled apart and put back together a couple times to get it into its current state. And even given that, it's the fit and finish I'm looking at is pretty right and tight overall. Now, from the slide out seating, looking over toward the campsite of the RV right here, one thing I want to mention is this window behind the TV is going to grow. That's one of the prototypey things that they're going to change. That will get a little bit bigger to better fill out that space right there. And when you're sitting down, you actually have, you're right at eye level with these windows, so you can kind of see what's going on around you here. But this design, holy crap, dude. The amount of kitchen prep space and everything it creates. And the kitchen is so symmetrical. When you're looking at it, it's just visually, aesthetically, I think, nicely pleasing. I will tell you, when you're looking at things like the gold hardware through the RV, like that kitchen faucet, or the buckskin color on the furniture, the camera that I use is not really friendly to the color contrast that exists within Brinkley RVs. So if you look at this, you're like, I absolutely do not like that color palette. I highly, highly encourage you to see one of these in person, because it very much may not look like this to the naked eye when you see it, They are using, by the way, a little bit of a larger oven down there as well. And again, with this being dual floor flush slides, first of all, it just makes the whole thing look bigger. Secondly, no annoying toe kick when you're trying to do anything in front of this big chunk of prep space. Now, with this being an 1.5 inch laminated wall, it makes it very problematic for installing power outlets in the wall. So you'll find your kitchen outlets are under the overhead cabinets over here, but they do have them. And one of the 2 pantries that we're going to see also includes power outlets. So it could be something of like an occasional appliance pantry, which is kind of neat. Now, if I sound a little more nasally and rattly than normal, I'm just on the tail end of recovering from a case of the crud. So pardon me a little bit. You can always just mute the video. It'll probably sound better to you that way. Anyway, now another thing that I really love about this is they have adopted the Fajita Friday Fume Fight and Fart fans in both the kitchen and in the bathroom, so that this thing always has awesome airflow exactly when and where you want it. Now, up here, they were one of the early adopters, and I think you're going to see more and more manufacturers jumping on board with this, with that Furrion Chill Cube air conditioner. It is an 18,000 BTU variable output system that is surprisingly quiet. Actually, if you go through my video of the 3610 Brinkley, you'll hear me standing directly under that thing while it's running, and you can barely hear it. Like, it's running, but man, it is not loud and offensive whatsoever. Not like me, anyway. So, this also has... The thing is that 18,000 BTU air conditioner, that is non-ducted. That is just directly maximizing the efficiency of pumping the cold air here into the living cavity of the RV and putting the biggest air conditioner in the biggest room of the RV without centralized ducting in the roof getting baked by the sun and losing some of the cold effect coming off that compressor. So your bathroom and your bedroom, they have their own separate mini centralized ducted air conditioner. So 2 airs standard on this, 31,500 BTUs of cooling power, factory standard on these. Now the thing is, I could not figure out how I wanted to display how you could use the dining and desk space over here. So several times through the video, you're going to see me do a couple different configurations. And I think for general daily use, this is probably how I would have it set, because it makes the whole thing look and feel nice and big and open. And it's also a good way to demonstrate the fact that if you don't care about that floating ottoman, nothing says you have to use it. Personally, I think it's really cool. I could see some folks feeling like it gets in the way a little bit, though. And I think that this chair makes for a little bit better desk arrangement. I guess you call it the dining chair, makes for a better desk arrangement than the bench. I think it's probably a little more comfortable to sit in long term. The other thing that I kind of thought about, I'm going to slide this out of the way. We're doing it live, like Bill O'Reilly over here, guys. You want a place for pet dishes. Now, I know that I just mentioned how it'll have the magnetic base, but like if you want a dog bed, a cat bed, something like that, nothing says you have to always leave that ottoman down there. Like, you can really use this floor plan a number of ways. And if you look at the what's behind the little MacBook Pro here, that always happens to show up in my Brinkley videos. I think it's one of their little local props. The lights just for the desk are right here. So if you want to stay up late at night while your partner is, up sleeping in the bedroom, you can do that and still get some work done. And this has both household and USB Type A and Type C plugs on it. So it is it has all the power solutions that you're going to need for a small, little, mobile office kind of thing. But, the thing is, most of the time when you get these unconventional dining arrangements, you lose a bonus sleeper. But as we're going to see, That doesn't necessarily have to be the case. If you don't want it to have free-floating chairs, if you just want a booth for some reason, you can totally do that. And as you may notice if you peek under there, it's got a little bit of what's called a dream dinette kind of system. Now, scanning around here, if you're familiar with Brinkley, you know that they're kind of the ones that sort of repopularized the squared off window look, and with the integrated shades, kind of a little bit of meshing, the North American and the European stylization going on here. They have, allowed the RV to get away from those ugly, boxy valances and lambrequins and whatnot, and just kind of clean up the whole look and the window treatments of these things right here. Now, built right into the armrest of the theater seat is actually a wireless little charge pad. But on your sides, in what I call the thigh buster position, you've also got individual USB plugs that control your your heating and whatnot. So you can have the little butt burner. But if you have a USB thing plugged into those, chances are you're going to bust it with your thigh. So they made sure to also include a set of USB plugs over here in that armrest. And did you notice how even the armrest has a soft close lid? You'll find that kind of functionality on pretty much all the kitchen cabinetry through this. It's they're very, very detail oriented. Now, I'm going to get all this storage opened up for you in a minute, but another prototype variation that I want you to know about is when we get in here, first of all, these are all adjustable shelves. You see all those little individual little hooks and everything. You can add, subtract, remove shelves, move them around how you want. And you can see how you could use it as like a little appliance station. It will eventually, when it goes into production, have one set of household outlets, not two that are in there. This is another little thing I want to caution you on. Make sure that door gets all the way closed before you operate your slide out. This is a floor plan that has so many things all packed in together that if you're not careful when you're opening and closing slides, you could have a couple little conflicts and some things could start crushing one another. And, that's never a good recipe for anything. Now, something I haven't mentioned, because it makes the lights flicker and sometimes it gives people migraines. I don't want somebody to stroke out or anything like that. And I mean that actually literally. I don't want to cause anyone health issues. The lights are on a dimmer switch, but when I dim lights on camera, I found that my camera gets flickery. At one of these days, I'm going to have to actually, get real hardware instead of the Walmart budget brand bargain basement stuff that I tend to use. So sitting at the theater seats right here, this is the view from the left-hand theater seat, and I kind of wondered, is that island going to be in the way of like looking out that window or watching TV if I sit in the other theater seat? And sliding over here, I don't think it does whatsoever. Now, naturally, the further over we slide, like if I slide all the way over to the very end of the slide sitting in the booth dinette, what is that going to look like? And I don't know. I haven't actually tested this yet. It's not ideal, but I don't think sitting here in the dinette is going to be considered the ideal viewing position regardless. But just so that you can see what it is, if you appreciate the extra little point of view looks like that, I don't know, leave me a little note that says, thanks, nerd, hit the like button on our video, whatever. By the way, notice the entry door. 3 things going on here. Big window that does include a bottom-up privacy shade. You've got the easy screen door kind of latch bar that also helps pull the door shut, and the little pet defender screen guard down there. So if your dog scratches on the door to go outside, it doesn't rip up your screen door. It's amazing how many of those little touch details will make big differences over time on kind of, keeping your RV looking real good. So again, that window is going to be a little bit bigger, but in case you hadn't guessed, with the push of a button, your TV pops up right there straight across from the theater seating. And going through all the storage and the dining configurations is gonna take a minute. Now, as we're looking through this, I do wanna mention that you do have pocket screwed lumber core kitchen cabinets. Well, the whole house cabinets, not just the kitchen. That means real screws into real wood. You also have real dovetailed drawer construction, plywood box dovetailed drawer construction on this. And if you don't know what that means, basically, it's not stapled particle board holding the drawers together. Because sometimes, I swear, when I go through some of the cheaper travel trailers, specifically, sometimes I wonder if the drawers in these things aren't held together by staples and your imagination. And I don't feel that's the case here in any of the Brinkley models. And what's funny is this is, I guess you would call it, this is what Brinkley considers entry level. It is pretty darn swanky. Now, obviously, as we go through this thing, like under the sink, you have tons of room for like big pots and pans under the sink, and you don't have to worry about putting waste baskets down there because it has an integrated waste basket. Now, this is a single, not a double waste basket, but if you notice, behind the waste basket, there's a perfect little pocket to keep extra trash bags tucked right in there. So they're there when you need them, but they're out of the way, they're out of sight. That is a 16 cubic foot, 12 volt compressor fridge. Those things are absolutely awesome. People wonder all the time, what does it take to get those things to operate in transit? Absolutely nothing special. The by default way that this RV is going to be equipped from the factory, throw a battery on it, going down the road, it will be able to run itself essentially indefinitely for road and travel use, which is one of the things I think is really, really cool about these. Now, again, this dining arrangement, there's more configurations that I thought of after I recorded this footage. There is just no one single way exactly arrange everything here. And that's the thing. I could see 4 different people buying this exact same RV and using it in 4 different ways for daily use, all of them. I just don't think that there's one specific way to set this one up. And that's what's kind of cool, is even from the factory, it basically has built-in opportunities for personalization and customization without actually manipulating anything or requiring that you go out and spend extra money and buy a bunch of furniture or anything like that. Now, by the way, that little coffee bar over there behind the little picture and the lemons that are out for display, there's another one of those sets of household and USB plugs integrated all into one. So that could be an awesome little coffee bar. Although remember, built into that pantry, you also have, more power outlets right there available for you. Another thing that I noticed, if you look over in the slide box, it's easy to miss. There's a set of light switches right there, so that even sitting just right at the theater seat, which is I think is going to be the primary seat in the RV, you can still turn the lights off right above you. Now, it is a smart command system, so if you do feel like hooking everything up to your phone, like the main cabin lights, the dimmer, you can operate that kind of stuff. Maybe not the dimmer. I'm sorry. I think the dimmer is on a physical switch up here in this control panel. By the way, something I noticed, your converter fuse box was located down here on the door that opens this direction, meaning even when the slides are closed, you're going to be able to access that. So you're never blocked from your fuse panel. That's one of those things that I think a lot of brands make a big mistake on. And anytime they have a little extra space, they always do something with it. They just tend never to leave spaces empty and unattended. Now, you might hear my shoes kind of constantly making that rubber squeaky sound. I don't know what kind of crazy Pine Sol cleaner they put on this floor before they got in here. But if I took my shoes off and walked around in my socks, I'd feel... I'd probably fall and bust my knee like Nancy Kerrigan. Although, truth be told, I think she did bust her knee a little bit different way there. Now, porcelain foot flush stool that is just stupidly fluffy friendly. It is very, very comfortable. And this is a standard 8-foot body. It's not an extra wide body. They just laid it out so nicely. And you saw where I grabbed the butt napkin roller over there? It actually includes the little toilet paper tower, but it magnet locks in place. So it's right there, it's easy to reach if you need it, but if that's not an ideal position for you, you can move it where it's good for you, but still have it secured for transit. And it's just those extra little details they put into this that I really, really love. And just like I mentioned in the kitchen, you do not have the dollar store 4-inch fart fan in these things. They're only using the bigger fan. By the way, here's a little pro tip for you. Sometimes you want to wait until after you've flushed the toilet to activate that thing, because if you have that fan screaming and then you hit your foot toilet button, it will create an open tube from the black tank and temporarily suck the bad news up into your face before it gets exhausted out of here. So if you're going to do that, maybe hold your breath. Now, if you're looking over here, it looks like it's got a skylight, but it doesn't actually. What it has is a recessed ceiling tray. It does not actually have a skylight built into the roof. That means that the single largest puncture or cutout in the roof membrane, which is also the skylight is probably one of the number one failure points of roof seals, has been eliminated. But they still offer you extra headroom. But look at this. I don't even know if they needed to do that. I'm a little over 6 foot tall myself, wearing shoes and a hat in this footage. And with the 6'9" ceiling plus the barrel, it is just so nice and spacious up there. Now, this is a seamless molded one-piece fiberglass shower enclosure with the little belly blaster water shooter at her kind of thing. Pardon me. Trying to recover from a case of the crud here. My throat's been spasming as I have been talking. I've been trying not to clear my throat on camera. Sorry about that. Now, notice how the mirror is backlit. It's one of the nice things I like about these. It just, that way the light doesn't exactly stab you in the eyes, but it doesn't exactly have any storage behind it. I don't know that you need it though, because if you look here, whether it's actually a shared bedroom, bathroom, closet, or all the space going on here below the sink or the drawer space, you've got decent storage in the bathroom area right here. My personal preference though, and I kind of mentioned this to them, I sort of wish under the sink didn't have shelves so that it would be a nice little wastebasket space. I think that's a handy thing to have in the bathroom. Another thing that's really cool about Brinkley's, they actually use their RVs before they put them into production. So this specific prototype that I've been in, the individual responsible for designing it has gone out with his family for a while and actually camped in it for a while to better understand where it needs a couple little fine tunings. So again, I've mentioned a couple little details that may change before it goes into production, but keep in mind, there's a few little tweaks and things that might happen. This is early access footage. Remember, the second air conditioner here is factory standard. That's a 13,500 BTU, and that is mini centrally ducted between only the bedroom and bathroom, so there's not a whole lot of ducting getting cooked there. I think Alliance was one of the first manufacturers to kind of do that, and it's certainly starting to grow in popularity. Now, I also want to remind you, this is an extra large RV. It's an extra tall RV. So some things that are normal sized look small, like the fact that they made everything, like all your hanging wardrobe towers, extra big. The fact that they actually put space at the foot of the bed to give you room to stand up and get dressed makes this look like a small bed, but it is in fact a 60 by 80 true queen. They are not currently offering any other bed swaptions. They are not currently from the factory offering anything in the way of a king bed swap. If that's something you're interested in, leave me some comments. Let me know what do you think is the best bed size for this, king, queen? Let me know some dimensions and we'll go from there. I do want to mention, I'm going to give you a look inside them. The little headboard pockets, they do have outlets. They are also sized for a common CPAP machine, but you can obviously use them as phone chargers. But they look small because again, all of the cabinetry and everything they've done in here is so flippin' large that they look small. And I really like how all the lights are just kind of recessed and really good looking in here. Now, all the TVs that we're looking at are smart TVs. They're all factory standard. And notice how this is a little bit downward dog angled, so it's not quite the neck wrecker that a lot of bedroom TVs are. And just in case you want an extra little jacket storage space, they have these handy little flip hooks there. What do you think about this? What if you didn't have something hanging on it, if it like auto flipped, if it was like spring loaded, would that be cool, or is that just not something that really matters? I don't know. I just sort of looked at it and had a thought. And whenever I have a thought, my wife goes, "Oh no, don't do that." Bedroom lights are on a dimmer switch also, by the way. 4,000, I think it's a 4,100 BTU electric space heat and Tootsie toaster right here in the bedroom. Now, it's not pumping out heat currently. You can use it for visuals only. So you've got electric heating in the bedroom. You've got electric heating in the living room and kitchen. You've got holding tank heaters. You basically have like propane and electric heating that could run simultaneously in this RV, which I think is kind of crazy, kind of cool. And it's another just one of those just insane over-the-top things right here. Now, opening everything up here in the bedroom, I mentioned when the video began, you can install either a combo or stackable washer-dryer in the bedroom of this RV. And I think that's one of those exceptional things that you just don't commonly find. Even in a lot of smaller fifth wheels, let alone travel trailers. So that right there, I think, puts it in a totally different category. And even if you do that, you still have the double hanging wardrobe towers, one on each side of the bed, and 4 dresser drawers above the bed, plus 4 more additional dresser drawers below the bed. And I love that little kind of hidden under the vaulted easy lift bed, like storage locker, almost like safe chest kind of thing that they have down there. Maybe it's just the nerd in me. I feel like I'm finding hidden treasure every time I open a compartment in one of these things. But what I like about that is like your dresser drawers, they open outward, so you don't have to lift the bed. And the grade of like gas struts that they were using under the bed of this thing, if you replace the factory mattress, which by the way doesn't suck, but comfort is a very subjective thing. If you put a heavier mattress on here, I think those struts are still going to do the job. And just like we saw in the living room, your bedroom breeze windows, you don't have the annoying boxy valances and lambrequins getting in the way of like the door and stuff. And any window that opens for airflow, it does have, both the day-night shade as well as a dedicated bug screen. The bug screens are things that they didn't used to do on there. They kind of thought, oh, well, that should do the trick. But sometimes little bitty annoying gnats can cause a bit of a problem there. Another thing that's easy to miss is the fact that you do have a little magnet catch on this door. Also, anywhere that a door might accidentally bang into something, they always tend to put like a little rubber stopper on it so it just doesn't end up scarring up all your woodwork, you know. Now, as you can tell, I've closed up the slides to give you a look in, nerdism number 37, road mode. These are rack and pinion slides, by the way. They're not using a Schwintek or cable mechanisms on this model, since you only have your two opposing living slides. Now, the hiccup with this one is it is extremely tight right here. I think that this is what I'm going to call nap and crap accessible. I don't think that this one brings the snacktastic access. If you're a little bit more my size, though, with this being a rack and pinion slide, in theory, you could always bump it out a little bit. And even if you bump it like 6 inches, suddenly getting through the thing becomes a lot easier. And if you think about it, if you can flip down these folding stable steps, then you can fully extend this campside slide. If you're willing to bump the slide a little bit to get through here, even partially, suddenly it becomes a very different scenario. Because, when the slides are closed, unless you're climbing on furniture and you're Stretch Armstrong, you're never going to get back here. But if you crack even that one slide just a little bit, you suddenly can have refrigerator traveling access. Now, obviously, this comes with some caveats. It's not direct road mode access, but if you appreciate how we kind of show you all the ins and outs of these things, even, sometimes where it's a little bit goofy, a little bit tricky, hit the like button, subscribe to our video, and let's hop outside because, man, we ain't even close to done. Now, as you may have surmised from the initial weights and measures and specs on one of these, I don't think this is something you're going to want to handle with a half ton. The catch-22 of making something that is, bigger, flashier, fancier, and more over the top than anything that's ever really existed before is that you're adding a lot of weight to it. And as a result, you're going to need a little more significant vehicle to handle all that stuff. Now, nice little details here. Like, I love the fact that our exterior compartments are all slam latches with magnet holdbacks. That's pretty standard fare. But again, it's the cleanliness of the execution. Like, if you look at the skirt line of this, you notice how you don't see a whole machine gun line of screws or anything in this, kind of like the slide fascia and everything inside. They rivet everything kind of from the back. It's just everything is just done so nicely, so cleanly. It just really makes sense. Now, it actually is, if I get down here, you can see how it's actually a mini drop frame, kind of like a fifth wheel. And a lot of your bigger travel trailers have started kind of adopting something like this. But what it allows for is just this humongous front pass-through storage compartment, once again giving you fifth wheel features on a flat deck travel trailer platform. Now over here you've got a couple things. You've got two different disconnects. One is basically a house disconnect, and then one is a disconnect specifically for the solar package. So sometimes, depending on what you're doing, if you're storing it or traveling it, you want to have different power sources going to different things, is the shortest way I can say that. I love the fact that our outside stereo, there's two speakers outside that you can't see. They're mounted under the skirting. But you just have a physical set of buttons right there where you can, access your entertainment system to, crank some volume up or down, depending on what's going on. And I love that full lighting strip across the front compartment right here. It just makes, seeing through the whole thing a little bit easier. Now, if you see that white sticker, it says inverter prep. Just like the rest of the Z family, it's a whole house inverter prep. So basically, you could theoretically set something up on this to be able to run every single household outlet on this RV from your batteries. Although, understand, you're going to be taxing your batteries pretty hard if you do that. And then sliding through the other side here, one of the things that I think is really cool is how they give you this easy access to the back of our whole docking station. And it also gives us a nice, easy look at the PEX on PEX water fittings that we have going on right here. And then you might notice this big black sucker out there. That is actually your freshwater hose reel. This thing has an integrated 65-foot freshwater hose built right into it, which I think is very, very cool, because I have been at some campsites that have some really bad hookup locations, and I always, when I travel, I always bring with me like some extra sewer water and electric stuff just to make sure if I need an extension, I've got it. Like the rest of your Z's, you've got those electronic dump gate valves. I want to kind of talk about something real quick here. Let's talk about the holding tanks, because if you read the total holding tank capacity on this, it looks absolutely extreme. Like, what is it, like 110 gray or something like that? So what's going on is up front, you have dual 40-gallon grays. The thing is, they are cross-plumbed, so it's a true 80 gallons of gray water. The other 30 gallons of gray is dedicated specifically to the rear kitchen back there. Now, we're going to get back there and give you a better look at that, but the rear kitchen actually does have a manual dump. The good news is it's not buried under a slide out. We'll get there in a few minutes. I just kind of want to prep you for all that. First of all, though, you know, this is where your bathroom and washer dryer gray, because you know, the washer dryer does plumb into that true 80-gallon front set of gray tanks effectively. And then you see the sewer hose caddy tube. Notice how it goes all the way across the belly. That gives you, you know, maximum tube kind of storage right there. And it's easy to see under here even at night without disturbing the neighbors, because they kind of do like ground effect lighting down here. Now, the rest of what they're doing down there, the trick is you can't really see it, because it's enclosed, it's forced air heated. They, of course, have their radiant barrier layering, and they do have holding tank heaters standard on these to really kind of, you know, maximize your greatest seasonality capacity that they could really come up with on these. Now, the windows are currently the one and only option that they're planning for this at the time of this video's release. Going to a dual pane, I call them square flow window, is the only option that they really have planned on it. Everything else that we're looking at is standard. One other nice little touch that I noticed as I was going through this, if you look at it, the overall graphics package doesn't look like it's changed, but look at the black, I kind of call it like eye shadowing. You see how it looks like it's got a texture, and then you get a little closer, and it's the big old Brinkley bee that kind of glitters at you right there, but then it just sort of like fades away. How cool is that? It just makes it looks alive. It looks like it's moving even when it's sitting still. That's something I thought was very, very cool. Now, the gearbox on the front here is a very, very cool thing. It's a powder-coated aluminum, and it just helps keep your propane tanks and everything protected out of the sun, away from the weather. Now, something I want to mention, for fire safety code reasons, the factory cannot put locks on these things. If you choose to do that as an owner, that's up to you, but it is not necessarily recommended you do that, because God forbid there's some sort of fire or anything. It's good to be able to turn the propane tanks off. Although the best piece of fire safety I can recommend is, if there's a fire, just get away. Just get away and get your insurance agent on the phone. That's the best I can recommend for you. Now, if you look down here, you'll see a single battery. That's not included from the factory. That's just here for display purposes today. There's easily room for two down there, but if you notice, you might be able to get cute and really kind of rack, pack, and stack quite a few in there. Your propane tanks are 30-pounders, by the way, and up front here on the tongue, you've got this is where your auto leveling controls are located, actually, because that's another really cool thing. Another fifth wheel feature that you're getting on this travel trailer is, you know, the convenience of an automatic leveling system. And what's really cool is, you know, with that control panel being up front and that being lockable, you can easily access it, but then also make sure that some unmonitored crotch goblins running around the campsite can't get to your stuff and mess with your stabilization. That's a nice key factor. Now, if you want to learn a lot more about how these things are put together, I've actually had the pleasure of going through the Brinkley production facilities and have a full dedicated video tour of just how these things come together, which I think was actually, it was a pretty, I know I learned a lot, and I've been through a lot of factories, you know. We saw it a little bit earlier, but giving you just another bit of a peek here at the dual power awnings on this one. What's really awesome is how greatly that maximizes your shaded functional patio space. So on a screaming hot summer day, you're not out here, you know, getting baked by the sunshine necessarily. Now, one of the things that you'll see when you go through, if you watch the factory video tour, is that they are using Asdal on the exterior layering of their sidewalls, just for an extra layer of, you know, moisture barrier protection, all kinds of things. Now, it is an anti-slam friction door, but what's nice is it still has the magnet holdback over here so the door can keep itself open and not wiggle around and get that sharp point poking you in the hip or the shoulder or something on a rainy day. And I do want to mention down here, again, you've got a pair of undermounted speakers so they're not directly blowing away the neighbors. You also, of course, have a gas grill quick connect right there in case you want to do a little bit of, propane cooking and hooking, basically. Working our way back around, they may change up some things like exactly which entry handle they're using. There's still a couple details like the exact awning hardware may change when it gets into the final model, but the fact is it's going to have dual power awnings in the position that you're looking at, so I don't think there's going to be anything too earth-shatteringly weird when it comes to anything like that. Working our way back around here, there's some cool stuff going on in the back of this that you don't usually find on travel trailers. On the way through, I do want to mention this is a 60,000 BTU water heater. So if you're taking a hot shower and someone decides to do some cooking and also kick on the hot water, it's not going to suddenly turn cold on you, which is always a nice thing, obviously. And if you look at this really closely, a lot of travel trailers have a rear hitch. And I'm going to call it a 300-pound rear accessory hitch. But if you look at that, that actually has the safety chain hooks and four-way wiring harness. That is technically a rear towing hitch. Now, keep in mind, towing behind a travel trailer is illegal in, I think, 48 out of our 50 great states. So I think the point that I'm making here is just how they were willing to really go above and beyond for the just because of it, Now, this ladder right here, one of the things that I'm kind of liking about it is actually not the ladder, but it's the transition that you make up to the roof line. It makes getting up there not so spooky, basically. Because they included that extra little piece up here on the roof so that you have something to hold on to when you're making the ladder to roof transition and then in reverse the roof to ladder transition, A quick look up here at that Furrion Chill Cube air conditioner, that 18,000 BTU monster, and you're going to start to see more and more and more companies go to that. I love that it has a white shroud on top to really kind of maximize the efficiency. If you're not familiar with Brinkley RVs, they use a very different type of sealant up here on the roof. It is basically the same kind of stuff they put on diesel pushers, and allegedly, you really don't have to do a whole lot to take care of this sealant long term. Now, I don't want to say this is a maintenance-free roof. That really spooks me way too much. I still think you want to get up here and do some seasonal maintenance upkeep. Still check on this thing from time to time. But this is a drastically maintenance-reduced roof, which I think is really, really cool. And the big 370-watt solar panel that you're seeing here, that is factory standard. This also has a 50-amp charge controller, so you could still expand on it a little bit more. One of the other things I want to point out is you see how you've got 3 white caps on the roof and then the black one. That black one is actually like a conduit piping tube that goes down through basically the kitchen pantry that has the power outlet. And there's an area in there where if you want to, expand on this solar package, if you want to go crazy, that gives you a very easy way to feed wiring up and down through this thing without having to remanufacture stuff. They've kind of prepped it for personalization and expansion, which is cool. And again, going from the roof down to that ladder feels very natural and organic. And again, we have a factory standard rear view camera on these, just like the big Z fifth wheels. They're still doing it here on the Z trailers. And that's kind of the cool thing with the Z Air series. Anything and everything they could include from a fifth wheel, they absolutely have done, except where it's just completely not necessarily possible. Now, as I mentioned, this is what I call a two-headed sewer monster. This black hookup, back hookup is specifically for the kitchen 30-gallon dedicated gray tank. And if you look at it, you don't really see anything because, or how you dump it, because your manual blade valve handle is kind of tucked up under the skirt line a little bit, where you're not gonna accidentally rip it off going down the road from something hanging down low. And it is easy to access as well. I know that not everybody loves the two-headed sewer monsters, but in a floor plan like this with the kitchen all the way in the back, there just was no other way around it. And I do commend them for not burying it under a slide out where it's really, really not fun to get to because nobody wants to do the poop scoot boogie crawling under a slide to get to that thing. All right, everybody, obviously I've talked a lot, and you get to hear me twice because of the echo in here. Bonus. Anyway, let me know what you think about this thing. Good, bad, ugly, and in between. Where did they nail it? Where could they improve it a little bit further? And in case you're curious, you might have noticed so far, all the Brinkley trailers, all 2 of them so far, have been, really big, really heavy, not really half-ton friendly. Just wait, keep your ear to the ground for something called the Model I series. We may have some footage of one of those coming for you later in the season. But in the meantime, let me know what you think. Check the links in the video description if you want to check out pricing and availability on one of these. And when you're ready, we're ready. We'd love to assist you. So take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.